It all started when I moved to Japan to attend college. Hiroshi and I became roommates, and things seemed pretty normal at first. We were just two college buddies sharing a small apartment, navigating the ups and downs of student life. But then things began to change. People around campus started to disappear, one after another. Rumors spread like wildfire, and a sense of unease settled over our college community. No one knew what was happening, and the authorities were struggling to find any leads. One evening, I came home from classes exhausted and ready to crash on my bed. As I opened the door to our apartment, a chilling sight greeted me. The room was dimly lit, and a strange odor hung in the air. I called out to Hiroshi, but there was no response. With a growing sense of unease, I ventured further into the apartment. I peered into Hiroshi's room and froze in shock. It was like something out of a horror movie. The walls were adorned with newspaper clippings, articles about the missing students. Red strings crisscrossed the room, connecting the clippings as if to map out something sinister. Fear gripped my heart, and my mind raced with terrifying thoughts. Was Hiroshi involved in all this? Could he be the one behind the disappearances? The evidence seemed overwhelming, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was living with a monster. Days turned into weeks, and I became more and more paranoid. Every little noise made me jump. Every shadow sent shivers down my spine. The once jovial and carefree college experience had transformed into a living nightmare. I decided to dig deeper, to find out the truth about Hiroshi. I spent nights scouring the internet, trying to find any connection between him and the missing students. And then I stumbled upon a chilling revelation. I discovered a series of photographs online depicting Hiroshi in various locations. Each picture showed him with one of the missing students, smiling and seemingly unaware of the horror that awaited them. It was as if he was documenting his dark deeds, leaving breadcrumbs for anyone who dared to investigate. My mind was reeling, and I knew I had to confront Hiroshi. The very next day, I mustered up the courage to speak to him about the photos and the clippings in his room. As I confronted him, his face contorted with rage and menace. The truth spilled out like a scene from a twisted crime novel. Hiroshi confessed to his heinous crimes, detailing the grisly murders he had committed. He explained how he carefully chose his victims, luring them with his charm and charisma. He revealed the thrill he derived from their fear and suffering, like a predator toying with its prey. I was petrified. The person I thought I knew had turned out to be a sadistic killer. My world shattered, and I could never look at another person the same way again. The betrayal and horror I experienced were beyond words. The authorities were alerted, and Hiroshi was apprehended, but the damage was already done. I will forever carry the weight of those dark days with me. The nightmares haunt me, and the trust I once had in people has crumbled. It all began on a moonless night, much like this one. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a foreboding presence that sent shivers down my spine. I had recently moved into a secluded cabin deep within the heart of the woods, seeking solace from the chaos of the city. Little did I know, the tranquility I yearned for would soon transform into a waking nightmare. As I settled into my new abode, strange occurrences began to unfold. It started with subtle sounds, faint whispers that danced in the corners of my consciousness, whispers that spoke of long-forgotten secrets and ancient horrors. I dismissed them at first, attributing them to my overactive imagination. But soon, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Night after night, I would lie awake, tormented by unseen forces. Shadows danced upon the walls, contorting into grotesque shapes that defied explanation. The air grew heavy, suffocating me with its malevolence. I could feel eyes upon me, cold and unrelenting, even when I was alone. The cabin itself seemed to have a life of its own, as if it were a vessel for something otherworldly. Doors creaked open and shut without provocation, revealing empty rooms filled with a palpable sense of dread. Objects moved of their own accord, defying the laws of physics. I was no longer a resident in the cabin. I was a prisoner, trapped in a nightmare of my own making. As the days turned into weeks, I became consumed by paranoia. Every creaking floorboard, every flickering light bulb, sent waves of terror coursing through my veins. I knew I was being watched, but by whom or what, I could not fathom. My sleep-deprived mind played tricks on me, distorting reality until it became an inescapable labyrinth of fear. The walls of the cabin began to close in on me, confining me to a space that grew smaller with each passing day. The once vibrant beauty of the surrounding woods transformed into a desolate landscape, devoid of life and teeming with an unspeakable darkness. I ventured outside less and less, for fear of what awaited me in the realm beyond my doorstep. But it was inside the cabin where the true horror resided. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, as if they were pleading for release. They echoed through the halls, their words intertwining with my thoughts until it became impossible to distinguish reality from madness. Sleep became an elusive luxury, and when I did manage to find temporary respite, my dreams were plagued by nightmarish visions that left me gasping for air upon waking. I sought help, desperate for someone to validate my experiences, to assure me that I was not losing my mind. But each visit from a skeptical friend or family member only served to exacerbate my torment. They saw nothing, heard nothing. To them, I was the deranged protagonist of a twisted tale. As the months stretched on, my physical and mental state deteriorated. My once radiant skin turned pallid, and dark circles formed beneath my eyes. I lost track of time, of the world beyond the cabin's walls. It became my entire existence, an all-encompassing nightmare from which I could not escape. It was an ordinary autumn evening when I first encountered the whispers of this chilling narrative. The air was crisp, carrying a hint of decay from fallen leaves. As I strolled through the dimly lit streets, my mind wandered, contemplating the strange occurrences that had plagued our town. Rumors circulated about individuals who had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only an empty void in the lives of their loved ones. The atmosphere in our community had grown somber and paranoid. Every shadow seemed to harbor a sinister secret, and every creak of the floorboard sent shivers down our spines. People locked their doors, clutching their loved ones tightly, afraid of being swallowed by the same abyss that swallowed the missing. The disappearances seemed random, affecting people from all walks of life. One day, a young girl vanished while walking her dog in the park. The following week, a respected businessman vanished from his office, leaving behind a bewildered staff. The town was caught in a perpetual state of fear, an unspoken understanding that no one was safe. Desperate for answers, I immersed myself in research, scouring the internet and delving into old newspaper archives. The more I delved, the more I realized that these disappearances were not confined to our town. Reports from across the country revealed a disturbing pattern of people vanishing with no rhyme or reason, as if they had been erased from existence. One particular incident caught my attention. It was a small, remote village nestled deep within the woods. An entire community had vanished overnight, leaving behind empty houses and silent streets. The investigation yielded no answers, and the village was forever labeled as a ghost town. Haunted by the stories and the growing unease in our own town, I began to piece together a theory, a terrifying theory that suggested something beyond the realm of human understanding was at play. There was a sinister force lurking in the shadows, preying on unsuspecting souls, abducting them from their lives and leaving no trace behind. With each passing day, the tension grew, and the feeling of impending doom tightened its grip on our souls. I could see it in the eyes of my neighbors, the same fear that mirrored my own. We were all trapped in a web of uncertainty, knowing that at any moment we could be the next victim. As I ventured deeper into my investigation, paranoia consumed me. I couldn't trust anyone, not even those I once considered friends. The walls seemed to close in, and every passing moment brought me closer to the edge of madness. The final night arrived, casting the dark blanket over our town. The streets were deserted, as if the town had collectively chosen to retreat behind closed doors, seeking refuge from the malevolent unknown. I, too, found myself ensconced in the safety of my home, yet haunted by the knowledge that no door or lock could shield me from the nameless terror that loomed outside. The night descended, embracing our town in an eerie silence. The clock ticked relentlessly, each passing second echoing in my mind like a resounding drumbeat. It was then that I heard it, a faint whisper, an ethereal voice that seemed to emanate from the darkest recesses of my mind. "Join us," it beckoned, its voice neither malevolent nor benevolent. It was a call that carried with it an allure I couldn't resist. My body moved of its own accord, drawn towards the unknown, driven by a morbid curiosity that defied all reason. Leaving the safety of my home behind, I ventured into the night, following the echoes of the voice. The darkness enveloped me, concealing my every step, as if the world itself had conspired to cloak me in its mysteries. In the heart of the town, I found myself standing before an old, dilapidated house, the epicenter of this wicked symphony of disappearances. It stood like a sentinel, casting its long, twisted shadow across the forgotten street. The voice grew louder, urging me to cross the threshold, to uncover the truth that lay hidden within those decaying walls. With trembling hands, I pushed open the door, the creaking hinges protesting against the intrusion. The interior was as desolate as the faces of the missing, dust-covered furniture, broken glass, and an overwhelming sense of despair. I navigated the corridors, drawn to a flickering light that emanated from a distant room. As I entered, the room fell into an unearthly silence, punctuated only by the sound of my own heartbeat. The flickering light revealed a mural on the wall, a tapestry of faces, each one a portrait of the vanished. I stood before it, my eyes scanning the haunting collection. And then, it happened. The room began to tremble, and the mural twisted and contorted, the faces merging into an amalgamation of agony and despair. The ground beneath me shook violently, and I stumbled backward, consumed by fear and a newfound understanding. In that moment, I realized the futility of my search. There were no answers, no resolutions to be found. The truth was far beyond the grasp of human comprehension, a dark secret that would forever elude our understanding. As the room collapsed around me, reality dissolved into fragments, and I was thrust into an abyss of darkness. The world outside ceased to exist, and with it, any hope of unraveling the enigma that had consumed our lives. The disappearance of our town and its people remains a mystery, a haunting tale whispered in hushed tones by those who dare to remember. Our lives, our stories, all swallowed by an insatiable void that lurks on the fringes of our reality, waiting patiently for its next victims.